welcome to Learning Music with Pat. You know, one of the fun things I get to do in life is to play all kinds of instruments because I love doing it. And I also get to collect all kinds of instruments too, and I love doing that. So today I thought to start off the show, I would show you one of the smallest instruments in existence. And I just happen to have it, and I'm going to talk about it some and show it to you. This is a mini ocarina. It is an actual instrument. It plays a full scale in the key of C. It is in pitch with itself, and it's just a lot of fun to play. I have done solos on it. It is actually only about 1.75 inches long, maybe 1.5 inches wide, and about 1/2 inch in its depth, which I'll show you now. It's built like a recorder, so I want to just show you what it is like and show you in what way it is like a recorder, and then I want to play a little solo on it just so you get an idea of what it sounds like. It's got a really potent sound for an instrument this small, so let's take a look at it. Here, if we can catch that, is the tiniest mouthpiece you will ever see. It's got a little tiny slit, less than 1/8 inch wide, and that's where you blow in. It acts as a fipple mouthpiece. It really is a fipple mouthpiece in a miniature form. Then it has, on the back of it, a thumb hole, which remember on regular recorders are used for octaves. It actually has that hole right there. And then on the front of it, it has the little labium window, the kind of apparatus that the recorders have, and that's where the music is made, and 4 small finger holes. The smallest one is on the lower right, and it's not too much bigger than a pinhole. So this is the instrument, and I'll play a little song. I'm going to play Alleluia on it, and that's a Christian song that many people like. It's short. I'll play it a little faster than it's written, just in the interest of saving time. So here goes. This is the way you hold it, and I'm going to play it. A sound from something that's so small. It's not a novelty instrument. It is an actual instrument called the mini ocarina. Now that song, Alleluia, I've decided to also play on some other instruments. Maybe I won't play the whole thing, but just to give you a chance to see the different tonal qualities of instruments. This is the recorder, same labium window, same mouthpiece, the tone hole in the back. That little mini ocarina has it all, and the tone holes in the front. So let me try this. Now I'll play part of it on the tenor. Much bigger instrument. It's in the key of C. The melody flute is also in the key of C. They should sound the same, except the pitch is different, and of course, since this is a bigger instrument, it will have a deeper tone. has a beautiful tone, and some of these instruments are voiced, as you know. So let me try the bass. The bass is the largest of the instruments that I have, has a very rich, deep tone. Now, the reason I've been doing this in all of these different instruments is the fact that I want you to get to understand the different tonal qualities, what the instruments are able to do, and also to be able to read the music. When I played the C instruments, they sounded different than when I played the F instruments because they're in a different key, but the music is the same. You have to get used to different keys, and it will sound different, but the music itself is the same. Now, I want to take a look at this piece. This is Alleluia. Music is like reading. You can read music, and it's all symbols. So I'm going to stand up at the board now and then show you some things, because I want to teach you how to read the music that makes you play the piece like I just played it. Okay. This is the piece Alleluia. Let's look at what it is like. You have a treble clef right there. You have a bass clef like that, and there's a line connecting the two. Another treble clef, another bass clef, a line connecting the two. So what does this mean? You have here in this circle, I didn't draw it in, but you have in the circle both a time and a key signature. The treble is the right hand. Now it has in it one sharp, that's F sharp. That puts it in the key of G. Now I haven't gone over the keys yet, but it's one of the things that I'm going to be going in another show a little later on. And it also has a 4/4 time signature. That means you have 4 beats, and it'll be equivalent to 4 quarter notes. The 4 beats tells you on top how many beats is in the measure, and then in the bottom, the kind of notes that you need to have. And then you read it like a book. What I played, what I ought to do is just I'm going to go back over and get a recorder and come back again. Sorry, I should have brought it with me. So when I play these 2 notes, D, D, B, B, it sounds like this. If I'm going to count it, the 8th notes come as a half a beat. A quarter is a beat, an 8th note is a half a beat. So it's 4 and, then you have the bar line, and then you start the actual piece. Now these 2 notes are part of the regular piece. However, they come before the downbeat of a full measure. It's not a full measure here. So you have the downbeat. 1, let's count it. 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3. That's the way it goes. So you have the measuring, and you can count the beats, and then you play it. Now, if you're in the piano, if you're playing piano, the piano, some students are taught to count the measures as they're learning to play. And but you can't do it with a woodwind, obviously, because if you do it, you can't do it because the instrument is in your mouth or up to your mouth. So you count in your head, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, this, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. Half beats are 8th notes, full beats are quarters, half notes are 2 beats, whole notes are 4 beats. since this is in the key of 4/4, this is 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and that's the way it goes. The melody is always going to be on the top line. That's the melody. And that's the way it usually is. If you're playing piano, it's going to be played on the right with your right hand. And underneath that, you have some notes that are like harmony notes. And you play them together. Because this is the treble clef, you play all of that line with your right hand. And so you're playing 2 notes at a time, sometimes more than 2 notes. You can even get chords and so forth and play them all with the right hand. Down on the bass clef, you have a top line and a bottom line. You play both of those with the left hand. So you have 2 notes on the right, 2 notes on the left, and they all join together as one song. And you read it just like a book. So melody on top, usually, there are some exceptions to the rule, but we're not going to get into that today. Melody usually on top, harmony on the bottom, and then 2 more harmonies on the bottom underneath, and then you play them both together. Bass clef played with the left hand, treble clef played with the right hand, and if I had a piano here and I had a keyboard, I could show you that more succinctly, and that's the way it is for the whole piece. Any kind of music that you have is going to have a treble, an alto, a tenor, and a bass. I'd like to tell you an interesting story about Handel's, George Frederick Handel, who wrote the Messiah. When he wrote the Messiah, he wrote it in those traditional 4 parts, the melody with the sopranos, and then you have the altos, and then you have on the bass section, you have the baritones and the bass. And he wrote it in only 24 days. It was just a genius. I mean, it has 52 pieces in it, I think. It's an oratorio. If I remember, it has 52 pieces. I've sung it before. And it has those 4 parts. Handel thought that that was easy to do. He was going to be performing it in England, and he thought the English would not be able to understand anything that was more complicated than 4 parts. So he deliberately left out some other parts that he would have put in to make it more complex. Well, if you've ever sung the oratorio, you know it's a very difficult piece, very, very difficult piece to sing. And there's nothing simple about it. But he thought it was simple. In his mind, it was simple. He was a genius enough to write it in 24 days. So he kept those 4 traditional parts for the purpose of making it simple for the English to understand. But if you've been in rehearsals, when I was singing in the Messiah, we used to have rehearsals that were like 6 hours long. It's very, very complicated. But it's also very beautiful. So that kind of gives you some information about Handel. He was also very, very depressed. And writing the Alleluia chorus, actually it's called Chorus Alleluia, it took him right out of his depression. And he was depressed enough, he wanted to die, when it came close to being the end of his life, he wanted to die on Good Friday and be raised in the heavenlies on Easter Sunday. That's what he wanted to do. Now, the books that I've been reading gives the date of his death, but it doesn't say anything as to whether it was Good Friday or not. So let me just, I'll step over to the chair once again because I've shown you what I want you to know on this. Remember, reading music is like reading a book. It's full of symbols. Letters are symbols, numbers are symbols. The same thing is true of music. So we've played Alleluia on several of these instruments. I have more instruments I could play it on. The music is always the same. The key is different. If you have a piano playing it and you're playing with the piano, you have to transpose the music so you're actually playing. Now what if, I'm going to just take a couple minutes, what if you were conducting this? I have a conductor's pad that I use as a pointer. You would raise up your hands and you would go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, before. Conducting is fun, and we're going to go into it a lot more later on. So let me just step over here. I want to show you, if I can find them, some charts that will tell you a little bit about note placements. And I can do this just by putting the charts on the music stand. I've shown this one before, or I guess I'll move the music stand and use this instead. Might be easier. Middle C is right there. In the melodica, middle C would be right here. It is the note that separates the treble clef from the bass clef. All of the treble notes are to the right, and they're played by the right hand if you're playing a piano. All of the bass notes are on your left, and you can see that the bass notes are played by the left hand, and you play them together as chords and so forth. But remember, middle C. If you are playing the flute, the middle C is actually the lowest note on the instrument. You cannot play any lower. The fingering for the low C is right here. That is the equivalent of the middle C on the piano. The saxophone can get a little bit lower, can get about a step and a half lower, and the clarinet can go about 4 or 5 notes lower. This would be a higher C. And this is a C above that. There's also a C above that. The flute is awfully good on high notes. So let me take that chart down and show you this next one. For the note placements, there is a difference between the treble clef and the bass clef in terms of reading the notes. On this, I have the low C. This is the middle C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That's the way it is in the treble clef. However, those same notes on the lower scale, on the bass clef, they read 2 notes above. This is going to be an E. This is a C. This is the same note, but it reads as an E on the bass clef. This reads as an F. This is a D. This is F is 2 notes higher. G, that's an E. This is a G. A, B, C. Now this is a C on the bass clef. That's the way it's written in. It would be an A on the treble clef. And then you have D and E. There's a 2-step difference. And in order to understand that, let me put back this first one. Middle C, you're going down B, A, G, F, E, D, C. But D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So the 2 read just 2 steps different. If I am using my melodica, here's the C. Now the C is going to be the middle C or this C, but it is an E in the bass clef. C, E. So the bass clef is actually reading 2 steps higher, but this is just the way that it's written, and you play the notes accordingly. Now this is never going to change. You're always going to have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and so forth. The piano keyboard is never going to change, but as it's written on the staff, it's going to read a little bit different. You kind of have to get used to that. Now let me show you another chart here. What I've done in this one, I've taken the bass clef and brought all the notes down to where they are, and I've taken the treble clef and written them up and just brought them down. B is right here. If you were reading it in the bass clef, it would be a D. Now this may sound quite complicated. It's not as complicated as you think. Remember I said with the clarinet you actually have to learn 2 sets of fingerings, one for the upper register and one for the lower register, because when you use the register key, you do not get an octave when you use the register key on the clarinet. You will on the other instruments, you will on the saxophones and the flutes, but when you actually do this for a clarinet, you put your register key on and you get an octave plus about 4 or 5 notes. So it is different. So I don't want to make this complicated. I just did some of these charts for you to see. And let me show you another one here. If you remember, and you may not, but remember the way that I taught the ease of learning, and we're dealing here with the treble clef, to know what notes are on the lines or on the spaces, E, G, B, D, F. Every good boy does fine. And then on the spaces, which I did in a different color, F, A, C, E, that's face. And that's the way you can remember them. You've got a whole range of notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, over an octave. An octave is 8 notes. You've got more than 8 notes, 9 notes. And that's pretty much all of a whole scale and one above, all of a whole octave and one above. So there are easy ways of learning how to play music, and you need to take advantage of that, and it'll make it easy. I always endeavor when I'm teaching to make it as easy as I can. It would be easier if you were here, I was sitting beside you, and I had a regular full-size keyboard I had beside me, and I could say, look at this, look at this, look at this. So instead, since I don't have that and you're not here, I make charts and hope that you can learn by that. Don't forget to email me if you have any questions or not, or at all, because sometimes it does get a little confusing. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please join me next time.